You need to watch this if you struggle with finding your purpose. Ever tried running from your purpose? It's a question that many of us have pondered at some point in our lives. We all have moments when we feel overwhelmed by the weight of our responsibilities or the expectations placed upon us. Sometimes, the path laid out before us seems too daunting, too challenging, or simply not what we envisioned for ourselves. In those moments, the idea of running away, of escaping to a place where we can be free from our burdens, can be incredibly tempting. But what happens when we actually try to run from our purpose? Is it even possible to escape the destiny that has been set for us? Jonah tried, and the outcome was epic. His story is one of the most dramatic and compelling tales of running from one's purpose that there is yet today. Jonah was a prophet, a man chosen by God to deliver a message to the people of Nineveh. But when God called him to this mission, Jonah was anything but enthusiastic. In fact, he was downright terrified. The people of Nineveh were known for their wickedness, and Jonah feared for his life. So, instead of obeying God's command, he decided to flee. He boarded a ship bound for Tarshish, hoping to put as much distance as possible could between himself and his divine mission. Jonah was a prophet on a mission, but he wasn't too excited about the mission he was called to. He knew that delivering God's message to the people of Nineveh would be a dangerous and difficult task. He also knew that if the people of Nineveh repented, God would show them mercy, and Jonah wasn't sure he wanted that. He struggled with the idea of showing compassion to those he deemed unworthy. This internal conflict led him to make a choice that would change the course of his life forever. Jonah's reluctance and fear were overwhelming. He was a man torn between his duty and his desire for self-preservation. He sat in contemplation, wrestling with his thoughts and emotions. The weight of his decision bore down on him, and he felt the pressure of the divine calling. But despite his inner turmoil, he made a choice. He decided to run. He thought that by fleeing, he could escape the responsibility that had been placed upon him. Little did he know that his journey was just beginning. So, he hopped on a ship to flee as far as possible from God's commands as he could. He boarded a vessel bound for Tarshish, a distant city that represented the farthest point he could imagine. As the ship set sail, Jonah felt a fleeting sense of relief. He believed that he had successfully evaded his divine mission. The sea breeze and the sound of the waves provided a temporary solace, and he allowed himself to hope that he could start anew, free from the burdens of his prophetic calling. But can you really run from God? I'll give you a clue: a massive storm and a giant fish. As the ship sailed further from the shore, the skies darkened and the winds began to howl. The sea, once calm and serene, transformed into a raging nightmare. The sailors, seasoned and experienced, were terrified. They had never encountered a storm of such ferocity. They cried out to their gods, desperate for deliverance. Meanwhile, Jonah, knowing that he was the cause of their plight, confessed his disobedience. He told the sailors to throw him overboard, believing that his sacrifice would calm the storm. Jonah found himself in the belly of this great fish for 3 days and 3 nights. As he sank into the depths of the ocean, a great fish, sent by God, swallowed him whole. Inside the belly of the fish, Jonah experienced a darkness unlike any other. It was a place of confinement, isolation, and reflection. For 3 days and 3 nights he remained there, contemplating his actions and the choices that had led him to this point. In the depths of the fish's belly, Jonah had a profound realization. It was there, in the darkness, that Jonah realized something profound. You can't escape your destiny. No matter how far he tried to run, no matter how deep he tried to hide, God's purpose for him remained unchanged. In that confined space, Jonah prayed. He poured out his heart, acknowledging his disobedience and seeking forgiveness. He understood that his destiny was not something he could outrun or avoid. It was an integral part of who he was, and he needed to embrace it. Even though he was disobedient and tried to run, God's purpose will always prevail. After 3 days and 3 nights, the fish, following God's command, spat Jonah out onto dry land. Jonah, now humbled and enlightened, understood the futility of his attempts to escape his divine calling. Then he bargained to look at the horizon with renewed determination. He knew that he had been given a second chance, and he was ready to fulfill his mission. The sunrise over the ocean symbolized a new beginning, a fresh start for Jonah. Jonah learned humility and the power of grace. His experience in the belly of the fish had transformed him. He was no longer the fearful and reluctant prophet who had boarded the ship to Tarshish. Instead, he was a man who had come to understand the depth of God's mercy and the importance of obedience. He knelt in prayer, his heart filled with gratitude and a sense of peace. He had been given a second chance, and he was determined to make the most of it. Just like Jonah, Jesus spoke of his own resurrection as a sign, 3 days and 3 nights, echoing Jonah's time in the fish. The story of Jonah is not just a tale of a prophet's journey, it is also a foreshadowing of a greater event. Jesus, in his teachings, referenced Jonah's experience as a sign of his own death and resurrection. Just as Jonah spent 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the fish, Jesus would spend 3 days and 3 nights in the tomb before rising again. This parallel highlights the themes of redemption, second chances, and the fulfillment of divine purpose. So next time you feel like running, remember Jonah. His story serves as a powerful reminder that we cannot escape our destiny no matter how much we try, as what God has planned for your purpose will prevail. No matter how far we try to run, no matter how deep we try to hide, our purpose will always find us. When we are faced with challenges and fears, it is important to remember that we are not alone. We have a higher calling, and we are guided by a divine purpose. Instead of running, we should embrace our journey, knowing that we are being led towards something greater. God's plan is bigger than our fears. The vastness of the star-filled sky and the infinite possibilities it represents remind us that our lives are part of a greater design. Our fears and doubts may seem overwhelming, but they are small in comparison to the grand plan that has been set for us. We must trust in the journey, knowing that every step we take is leading us towards our destiny. The challenges we face are not obstacles, just stepping stones that we should use as opportunities for growth and transformation. Can you escape your destiny? Probably not, and that may be good. Our destiny is not something to be feared or avoided. It is a path that has been uniquely designed for each of us, filled with experiences that shape us into who we are meant to be. Embracing our destiny means accepting the challenges and joys that come with it. It means walking the long road with hope and determination, knowing that we are being guided by a higher purpose. So, the next time you feel like running, remember Jonah's journey and take a step forward with faith and courage, for God has a plan for you that is destined to prevail. Thank you for taking your precious time to spend with me. God bless, and please subscribe and like if you enjoyed.